Excuse me. You want a copy of the final contract? Is that how we had what's not just you made a little minor change. Huh? Yeah, I'm just asking for comments because I didn't get a chance to print it. Thank you.
On the
Well, you know. I don't know if I agree with that. I'm not saying for 13 days. I went to Ladies. She's at the only count is fourth quarter. No, she didn't want to do it. She mentioned her fingertip.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to start at 6:40, so just 4 more minutes. Thank you. Okay, the time is 6:40 from what I can see here. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll for our special city commission meeting for Monday, February 2nd, 2026?
Commissioner Chernoff,
Here.
Commissioner Florimon, Commissioner Jean,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Present.
Commissioner Sue,
Here.
Vice Mayor Smuckler,
Present.
Mayor Michael Joseph.
I am here.
You have quorum, sir.
All right, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Madam Clerk, we are now to item number 3 on the agenda. Can you open it up for public comment? Thank you.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. The Mayor and Commission of the City of North Miami Beach has opened the meeting for public comment at this time. There is a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. Speaker, when you're called to the podium, please state your name or the name of the organization which you are representing. The Mayor and Commission of the City of North Miami Beach recognizes the importance of civility. The City of North Miami Beach requests that all in attendance to exercise civility towards each other. And our first 2 signed speakers are Natasha Irvin and then Dakari Griffin. Mr. Mayor, for the record, Commissioner Florimon is here.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. My name is Natasha Urban, and I am a commissioner in the city of Opelika. Thank you.
Welcome.
In 2022, I was voted in as the vice mayor for 2 years. I ran my campaign on the slogan of standing up for what's right, standing up for what's right, which is what brought me here tonight. I would like to state a few facts. It was reported that Darvin Williams recouped $1 million from a business for a delinquent water bill. Opelika records reflect a payment of $571,211.54 was received. During Darvin's tenure, according to our city records, he completed only 6 CID projects, and when it comes to our 99 findings, Darvin Williams only completed 8 of those findings. I feel like I was his biggest supporter when we started our search for a permanent city manager. Our city became quite chaotic. Once we got our 3 finalists, let's just say that our candidates weren't the best. We had issues with their backgrounds, even the background of Darvin Williams. Our human resource director resigned for fear of repercussions and possible termination from her superior, Darvin Williams, because his background would disqualify him for the job. Nonetheless, we hired him anyway because he appeared to be the best candidate. We knew his work, or so we thought. After giving Darvin Williams a contract, everything went awry. Darvin only got along with 2 of his bosses, myself and 1 other commissioner. Darvin filed ethics complaints against his bosses, which were unfounded. He believed in playing us against each other. Divide and conquer is his MO. Darvin terminated employees without due process. He even terminated 1 employee while he was away fulfilling his duty as an Army reservist.
15 seconds.
He interfered in active police investigations. Darvin received a car allowance, yet he continued to drive the city vehicles. Darvin, despite being told by his bosses, he refused to work with the city attorney.
Time.
Sir, can I get maybe another minute?
1 minute, 1 minute, yes, for.
Okay, thank you. Which prohibited her from effectively doing her job. Furthermore, after a commission meeting, Darvin pursued her in a confrontational, aggressive manner. After firing Darvin Williams, it was discovered that he opened 17 bank accounts in the city's name at Popular Bank, a financial institution that we don't do business with. This was done without commission consent or knowledge. Where's the integrity, transparency, or accountability here? I'm only here tonight to try to keep the city of North Miami Beach from going through the devastation that Opelika endured and is still experiencing thanks to the wrath of Darvin Williams. And what you see there is all the names of the 17 accounts that was open under his tenure. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Attorney Norman Powell.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. My name is Norman Powell, and as you are aware, I represent Darvin Williams in this process, and that was limited to preparing his agreement for your consideration. As I understand this meeting this evening, it is an item that was advertised in your processes, and it's very specific. You're here tonight to consider a proposed agreement for Mr. Darvin Williams as to whether or not he should be your city manager. Your processes lasted months. You conducted interviews. You heard from the public. You heard from interested residents in that process over the last several months. What we're hearing here, and that's why I didn't get up right away, is issues that have nothing to do with what has been advertised this evening. If folks are going to come up here and disparage this man without any basis to do that, especially in a meeting that has been specifically advertised for a particular subject, it is completely untoward. And I respectfully request that the city attorney opine as to whether or not this meeting being noticed for consideration of an agreement should be expanded to include allegations and issues that are not duly noticed for this meeting. Thank you.
Next speaker.
I would like to hear the city attorney's opinion.
It's a public comment.
Well, I still want to hear his opinion.
My opinion as to what the commission can discuss may be a little different than as to public comment. Public comment, I mean, we allow free speech.
Yeah.
And someone who has a comment as to whether the city should enter into the agreement, this probably can be heard. I will note that
They want you to speak louder, city attorney.
I'm sorry? You having trouble? Okay. It's on.
I can.
Thought I was close enough to it, but maybe not. So you have free speech. People can comment
Okay.
as to whether you
Thank you.
should. Now, if the commission starts going off on a tangent, I might say to you, you've already
All right.
made the decision
Thank
as to
you.
who you're hiring, and this is focused on the terms, but I always hesitate to opine that the public's free speech, if it's remotely related. I agree that it is pretty remote, but I suppose one could say, well, that's a reason you shouldn't do a contract or this term. I just will note that whatever happens, I was going to say this after, but you'll note that the draft I prepared, and I discussed at some length with Mr. Powell, there's a big blank as to the amount of salary, that being above my pay grade. So certainly you have some discussion and some decisions to make. I might say something if you start to drift as a commission, perhaps, but if it's remotely on the topic, I think we err on the side of free speech with letting the public be heard, good, bad, or indifferent, right, wrong, or otherwise, and somebody who wants to dispute it should have that right as well.
All right, and just like you're saying that they have a right to speak, I also have a right to ask the city attorney that question. So thank you for your answer.
Next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. My name is Dakari Griffin. I was an employee for the city of Opa-locka for the past 15 years. It would have been my 17th year, but I was abruptly fired by Mr. Williams without any due diligence or a trial or anything. I thought Ms. Fortuna said something.
Oh, no.
Oh.
I didn't say anything.
I've been working for the Parks and Rec for 15 years, like I stated. Actually, Mr. Williams promoted me to superintendent. 6 months later, I was fired because I stood up for a staff member, one of my employees. We had a pretty good relationship up until that day. My coworker was fired, I believe, May 25th, and a week later, I was fired. The reason was he said that I didn't let the city know that I had outside employment. That's what he said. And then he proceeded to start an investigation. I was fired on the 2nd. He started the investigation on the 3rd. I got calls. The school that they say I was working at, they said the police there, they didn't get any answers. They said the chief of police, a few weeks later, they never got any answers. They didn't try to make it a criminal case against me. If you look at my background, I have nothing in it. That was the first issue I had with the city, and I was fired. Doesn't matter what I help people do. I got kids that scored 1680 on the SATs, police officers, people that went to the military, all in impoverished city of Opelika. It didn't matter. So I just came to let y'all know my situation, and thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker, Zonia Ray, and then Chris Roberts.
Good evening, Zonia Ray, Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Opelika. On July the 3rd, I was called in the office at Human Resource. I was out picking up supplies for the 4th of July event, and I was called to HR to tell me that I had to make a decision to either resign by Friday or I would be terminated. Don't know what happened in the midst that it came to that point. Me and him had a meeting prior to Mr. Williams. We had a meeting because it was someone came to me and said that the manager say I jumped for one of the commissioners on the dais. I don't treat none of the commissioners in the city of Opelika different because I was taught when I first started working in government that when you choose to be favored to a commissioner, the hands change so often till you will be one to be targeted. So I survived the city of Opelika for 37 years because I don't play politics. In the midst of that, I got up on 4th of July morning because we had a big event that was taking place in the city of Opelika for the 4th of July. I came into work. When I left that Tuesday, I was so sick to where I came back the next day to set up for the 4th of July event. Got so sick to I ended up going home. In the midst of me going home from being stressed out from all the stuff that was going on, I ended up being hospitalized. And I ended up in the hospital because of stress, and they say all the stuff that was going on around me. I stayed out of work. The doctor kept me out for like a month. When I came back, I was on pins and needles coming back to work because I didn't know if the day I was going to have a job or I was going to be terminated. And then eventually another investigation rose against Mr. Darvin Williams. I don't have anything personal against him because I looked at him totally different because we had a relationship prior to outside of the city. Even when he was working for the city a long time ago, it just like things changed when he became the permanent city manager and I became one of the targets because of the relationship that was going on based off of disagreement between him and a commissioner on the dais for Opelika. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Chris Roberts.
Good afternoon, Chris Roberts. I came today to express explain some issues that have came across with the city of Opelika with Darvin Williams. Approximately a year and 4 months ago, I stand before the dais and said that we were in a $5 million deficit. Darvin in turn turned around and said, oh no. A week later, they were doing the budget, and it went from $5 million to $10 million. If the city of North Miami Beach is in a $5 million deficit, why would you hire somebody that left our city in a $10 million deficit? He's a liar. He's not transparent. He does not have any integrity. That's not Darvin Williams. Y'all might think so, but that's not Darvin Williams. I came and spoke in front of a commission meeting, and when I spoke in front of the commission meeting, 10 days later, I was suspended for 30 days without pay. Okay, fine. I know laws. I'm fine with it. I stayed home for the 30 days, came back to work. When I came back to work, filed a lawsuit against the city of Opelika, naming Darvin Williams because he violated the union contract at the city of Opelika. He's gonna talk a good game, and the city of North Miami Beach in 1 year from this day will come back and everybody on the dais is gonna say, we should have left him where he was. He's a talker. He prey on the weak. He's an opportunist. That's Darvin Williams. If y'all don't know today, we're not here to tell y'all what to do in y'all house. This is y'all house. But we can tell y'all will live to regret the day that y'all allowed Darvin Williams to become the city manager of North Miami Beach.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Former Commissioner Audrey Dominguez, and then Brian Dennis.
Are you okay? Because I heard that slap all the way here.
I'll handle that later. Good evening, Mayor and Commission. My name is Audrey Dominguez, former Commissioner for the City of Opelika. I'm addressing this body tonight regarding your nominee for City Manager, Darvin Williams. It is not my practice to address another municipal government regarding its personal decisions. I have given thought to appearing before you this evening and to share observations from my direct experience. Ultimately, I recognize that I am not a resident of this city, and the final decision rests with you. A city manager is entrusted to lead ethically, communicate professionally, and execute responsibilities with sound judgment. Mr. Williams accepted the role of interim city manager April 2022 while maintaining ownership in a private company that requires significant government approvals for construction project within the city of Opelika. In my view, this circumstance presented a potential conflict of interest that warranted divestment at the time of his appointment. On May 25th, 2025, during the City Commission meeting, I pulled an agenda item number 4, which involved involvement contract to install a French drain along Northwest 147th Street, an area associated with Wellspring Community Resources, Inc. Mr. Williams deferred the item. It was not until June 8th, 2022, following the appearance of the Miami-Dade County Ethics Commission before the City Commission to address outside employment and potential conflict of interest, that Mr. Williams resigned from his position with Wellspring Resources, Inc. He resigned that same day that the Commission on Ethics went to the City of Opelika. During his tenure, Mr. Williams required repeated reminders regarding appropriate communications and decorum when addressing elected officials while serving in an executive role. Additionally, Mr. Williams presented himself as an attorney and repeatedly involved himself in matters customary handled by the city attorney. As a result, a complaint was submitted to the Florida Bar, and the guidance was provided regarding appropriate conduct and limitations. All matters referenced are reflected in official commission records and public documentation. I'm not an advocate for or against any candidate, but to provide context from my direct experience for your consideration and to highlight government consideration relevant to the role of city manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Madam Clerk,
Yes.
the items that I just, Brian Dennis, the items that I just handed the clerk were pictures of Mr. Williams.
Excuse me.
State.
Brian Dennis, address 2140 York Street, Opelika, Florida. The information that I just gave the clerk was pictures of Mr. Williams' Facebook page with Commissioner Smuckler and the wife. And apparently, look a little too cozy for me. And even though it was disclosed in the sunshine, I feel like that she should have been recused from the vote. But nevertheless, the other information that I gave you was from a concert promotion that happened in the Dominican Republic where
Can you speak up to the mic?
where Concert goers lost
Please speak into the microphone.
concert goers lost close to $500,000 under Mr. Williams. Now, the thing of it is, in this article, what you will see is his alias name, Will Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Williams, you are quite sure you all received the package from me that stated with the resolutions that was in there, especially the one with the closing of 17 bank accounts. Mr. Williams went on CBS 4 and said that he found the $17 million, but he opened up 17 bank accounts. So I'm going to assume that the $17 million that he found was going to be $1 million in each bank account that he opened. There's a young man in our community that works for Shaquille O'Neal by the name of Tommy Johnson. We call him Scoop. I'm quite sure you all heard of an arrest that happened in 2024 about a shooting concerning a commissioner. Well, his brother, Mr. Anthony Mitchell, and Mr. Tommy Johnson were arrested under this sergeant that y'all see back here, Sergeant Bosque, and they were charged with shooting at this so-called commissioner. They was tested. Neither of them was found with gun residue on them. Here's the problem with Mr. Williams. Once you have an individual like that, if you do not get along with him or he is trying to curry political favors, you become in the line of fire. If you saw my video, you would also know that because I wouldn't sign a consulting agreement with Mr. Williams, I became the target. Ladies and gentlemen, the one thing I don't do in the city of Opelika is play games and nobody controls me. But if you, this commission, care anything about this city, what you would not do is put an individual in place to have you later regret the vote. My saying to you is, buyer, beware. Why would you hire someone that isn't any good? And then when the Commissioner Bass came over here and spoke to y'all, she told y'all a bold-faced lie. A commissioner from our city came to a city to support this person. And when Mr. Williams was fired, she said that it would be blood on those hands who fired Mr. Williams. Let me explain something to you. You have to care about families. You have to care about people. Mr. Williams didn't have any regard for those people or their family because Mr. Williams don't have no children. You are supposed to be the leaders of this great city. Lead this city in the capacity in which the voters voted for you and stop hiring trash that we threw away.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Mara Hawk.
Can somebody else? I haven't finished writing. Nobody? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and members of the public. My name is Mara Hawk, a resident of this city. First, I want to welcome our new city manager. Okay, a majority of this commission vote for. And as they vote for this appointment, I am sincerely hope this marks the beginning of a period of stability, professionalism, and respect for the people who serve this city and the residents they work for. I wish the new city manager success and independence in carry out this important role. I also feel compelled to speak about a little bit about what all of the people that have been here speaking. I understand there are so many different opinions about a person, but this looks like a witch hunt. So much more can be said for some of our representatives here in North Miami Beach. However, I see that some of those faces are still here tonight. So before throwing stones, do a thorough search inside your soul, please. My hope is that this commission, together with the new manager, will recommit to transparent governance, fairness, and respect for the staff, for the residents, and for one another. Thank you to you all.
Next speaker.
We do not have any other speakers.
Okay, thank you. Next item is resolution. Mr. City Attorney, can you read it?
Move to introduce.
Second.
Resolution of the mayor and city, I'm sorry, it's item R, 2026-13, resolution number R 2026-13, and I believe it was number 3 on the agenda. A resolution of the mayor and city commission of the city of North Miami Beach, Florida, appointing Darvin Williams to serve as the next city manager for the city of North Miami Beach, approving the employment agreement between Darvin Williams and the city of North Miami Beach attached as Exhibit A, authorizing the mayor or designee to do all things necessary to effectuate this resolution, providing for conflicts, providing for scrivener's errors, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Mr. Mayor, if I might, before you move to consideration, as you know, we've drafted a proposed agreement and sent that around to everyone. There was a slight revision to it today, and you have the revised one sitting on your desks in front of you. In terms of that slight revision, it only talks about adding, if the commission chose to add additional duties for the manager that are not usual manager duties and are not specified in the agreement or the city charter. For instance, if you decided at some point to pull the CRA in-house and not have an executive director, have the manager do it, or if you created a charitable nonprofit foundation, which some cities do to accept donations, and decided to designate the manager, if you did those non-managerial duties, you would negotiate some mutually satisfactory agreement. It's a very slight revision, and it was at the request. I've had the opportunity to speak at some length with Norman Powell, who is an attorney well known to me for quite a number of years with considerable experience in the area of municipal law as well. Mr. Powell had also submitted something to you. We spoke. I will let him speak for himself, but I think that we don't have serious major disagreements. There are some language differences. I tried to simplify some of these things in front of you. The big thing, obviously, that you must decide, there's a blank where it says salary, because that's just above my pay grade, and I had no suggestion. That's up to you. Additionally, I kind of arbitrarily chose a number for a car allowance, that if that's the election, the commission has to elect whether it's going to be a car allowance or providing a vehicle to Mr. Williams. But in my conversations with Mr. Powell, he indicated a strong preference for the commission to give a car allowance. There's personal issues have to do with parking at his residence, and they have an older child with a vehicle, and he may want to explain the details. Bottom line is their request, and I put to you, in addition to filling in the blank for the salary amount, you should elect which of those two options, and there is a strong preference for you to elect car allowance from your new manager. And I also said to Mr. Powell that the number I filled in for car, I could have left that one blank as well, but I wanted to give some guidance. There is no mileage or any of that reimbursement thing. This is the number, and it's intended to cover insurance, maintenance, repair, wear and tear, all those things on the personal vehicle, though he is permitted to get gas at the city gasoline station. So I told Mr. Powell if he has, and I leave that to him, any different number for the car allowance, that certainly is a privilege to ask you. I chose the number arbitrarily. I haven't done any particular calculation as to whether it's sufficient, and I really don't think it's a matter about which you need legal advice. So I have no objection. You know, it's left to you. Other than that, if there are questions of me as to any point, I think Commissioner Smith had a brief concern that she raised with me just before originally earlier today, and showed me just before the meeting started. I'll let you get to that in the ordinary course of things. I would have one last suggestion. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions. I just want to say as a general guide, I drafted this agreement. I've done a lot of these over time. The agreement was drafted to protect the city. And so it may differ in some regards because my principal concern is protecting the city. However, protecting the city does not mean having a contract that is unreasonable for someone that you are choosing to be the person who leads the day-to-day operations of the city. Protecting the city also means having a contract that is fair and reasonable to both sides, and that protects the manager in a way that allows the manager to do their job for the city while still making sure that the city's protected. So I've done my best to come up with something that protects the city. It is fair to the city, but I believe it's also fair to and protects Mr. Williams, and the city should always act reasonably and fairly in its relations with its employees, its vendors, its citizens, and everyone else. So my final suggestion is I would urge you, at your discretion, to allow Mr. Powell a few moments separate and apart from the public comment, because this agreement is a two-way street. We have to agree to it, but the manager has to agree to it too, and everything I've done here is a suggestion to you as to what I think is reasonable and protects you, but nothing here is sacred, and anything you want to amend on the dais, that's your privilege. Here, you had a hand.
Mr. Powell?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Joseph. I think Mr. Geller did an excellent job in meeting in the middle. There's everything that we discussed today and over the last couple of days in terms of what we had originally proposed and to where we are now. We're in full agreement. The one thing I do really want to emphasize, and I think Mr. Geller also pointed that out, is that Mr. Williams's preference would be to just receive a car allowance instead of a city vehicle. That's a strong preference for personal reasons. In addition to that, we proposed a base salary of $285, which we surveyed similar cities, your sister cities, your neighboring cities, and cities in Broward and Dade, and that was what our proposed request is. As Mr. Geller pointed out, it's blank. It's still up to you all to, in your discretion, to determine what that base salary is. But I will state it very clearly, everything other than the blank is accepted to, because it's been a product of the last few days going back and forth and meeting in the middle. So your really only exercise is down to two boxes to check today, which is one, what's the base salary going to be? And two, whether or not you're going to go in the direction of a car allowance or simply a city vehicle. And those are the two items that are open. So Mayor, thank you for the opportunity.
Mr. Powell, the final package that the attorneys gave to us tonight, how is that different from the red line one?
There's a few differences. And again, getting back to stating our conversation, we went through each of our proposed requests, and Mr. Geller explained why he felt that some of them were not appropriate, and we met in the middle. So for example, I can go through them in turn. One of the first things we had wanted was to have a period of time that if there was a new commissioner or mayor-elected, we wanted a similar provision as was included in your past manager's contract, that there would have been a cooling off period, if you will, that the manager would not be terminated for 45 days. Mr. Geller explained, and I can understand it, that having that type of cooling off period in a contract would lend itself to basically stagnation of the government. You'd have a new commission, a new mayor that may not want the current manager, and that's not good for anyone. So the compromise was simply to say, look, we're going to go ahead and allow you to have the statutory severance, and if there is a for-cause termination, you'll have a truncated severance. I think it's 8 weeks, and we were fine with that. So we basically got rid of that request. The other request was very simple, but maybe didn't read simply. We just simply wanted to ensure that on an annual basis, that Mr. Williams's base salary would be increased based upon the CPU index, the promulgated by the federal government. Mr. Geller and I discussed that today. The city routinely increases its non-contract employees based on a similar formula. So whatever the city does for its non-contract employees, it'll apply to the manager, which we're fine with also. The other red line provision that we changed, and I believe it's still in here, is that we wanted to limit the period of time that if the manager decided to terminate the contract, we reduced it from 45 to 30 days. So that, right, which is pretty much de minimis. The other key item that we wanted, and I'm glad that it's there, Mr. Williams wants to, if it fits within the schedule, to be able to take classes to be able to be proficient in Creole and Spanish. So that was also there, that if that's educational endeavor is part of his time and he can accomplish it, the city, just like other staff, would be able to go to college to improve their value to the city. He would have that same opportunity.
That was agreed to.
Right. So those are the highlights. I mean, those are the main things. We got rid of the CPU, which was unwieldy. We got rid of the reimbursement for mileage, which is just going to be a flat car allowance. So as I said, the only boxes that we have left to check this evening is the base salary and whether or not you all will consider a city vehicle or simply a car allowance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I move forward? Can I? Thank you, Commissioner Turner. For all intents and purposes, I'm chairing the meeting. Can you allow me to chair the meeting, please? Okay. Before we go into discussion, thank you, Mr. Powell.
Yes.
No, that's unless you have.
Oh, I thought you had a question. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, since you're up here, what was the salary? What was the previous salary in Opelika?
Mr. Williams, what was your previous salary in Opelika? 190.
And the current ask that you have right now?
285.
285.
Right.
Oh, thank you. You can have a seat. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Before I open up, I'm going to open up for commission discussion. I have a statement. I'm going to read. It's brief. It's germane to the topic. You'll see at hand. It relates to the whole process of us getting here, at least from my standpoint. I don't know how you guys, what your thought process is, but at least I would allow you guys to, as I've done for other commissioners on here, to have an opportunity to read their statements. Okay? Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. I was elected to North Miami Beach to lead this city toward a brighter future, grounded in transparency and accountability, and renewed in trust in our public institutions. For a city that has endured repeated public corruption scandals that promise repeated corruption scandals. That promise matters. For that reason, I must speak plainly about the proposed selection that's before us, which is Mr. Darvin Williams. Based on the information now before us, this selection represents a steep backward for our city that is exhausted by instability and reputational harm. Serious questions for me remain on whether a thorough background review was done and the credential, please hold your statements, thank you. A thorough background was done and credential verification were completed prior to advancing this particular contract. Leaders and residents, not just from Opelika, but City of North Miami Beach, reached out to me directly expressing their frustration and the warning signs that were not taken seriously about Mr. Darvin Williams and his termination from the City of Opelika and the barring of future considerations at that same city. That alone should have required heightened scrutiny. More concerning, North Miami Beach has received a formal ethics complaint from citizens from Opelika, alleging that while serving as city manager, Mr. Williams abused his public position to advance development in which he had potential personal interests and directing millions of dollars in public resources to that project. These allegations are documented, detailed, and unresolved. The responsible course of action is not to rush past these issues, but to pause and fully understand the legal, financial, or reputational liability that our city could possibly assume. I'm only asking that we do a more thorough background because there's a lot of stuff that's coming out recently. I don't know if you've gotten calls. I've gotten plenty of calls from people from not just Miami-Dade County, but places all over the state, saying that this is a mistake. I know that some of them showed up here, but I've received calls. And I just asked that we should take a pause on this and really doing a full background check. Because the first time that we got some type of background was less than 3 weeks ago, after we shortlisted 4 individuals for this position. And one person, Mr. Darvin Williams, waited to the last possible moment and this can be proven by documentation that was received by HR and the city attorney, that we could possibly get sued if we release his background or anybody's background in that sense. And I think that's unfair because I thought whatever documentation or anything I bring to light to somebody's character and being our manager should be open to the public. It's transparent. We're supposed to be transparent. But we were told by staff that we received a pre-suit letter saying that if you do this, the likelihood of us getting sued by Mr. Williams is pretty high to that degree. That was told by me by staff and HR. The other issue I have is that it was delayed in getting the fingerprints done by Mr. Williams. He waited till the last possible moment to get those, to do those background, to submit himself to fingerprinting. And I could understand why he was waiting for so long. I don't know what the issue was, but he did. And the reports were still oncoming up until this point. There's certain things that even our own background check didn't even come up with, but now are coming into light. And the last concerning thing I had is that when I did have my interview, Mr. Williams asked him a simple question that I asked every person that applied and was shortlisted for this position. Do you meet the minimum qualifications? He stated, no, he does not. That admission was very telling for me, even back then. This is before I even got the initial background check. But I'm gonna wrap this up because I want to just state it for the record before I move on, because this relates to my decision making. It's also deeply troubling to the efforts to exercise my own due diligence as mayor in this matter have been met with hostility rather than reasoned debate. Following the prior commission meeting, I reported an incident to the City of North Miami Beach Police Department involving a former city commissioner, Barbara Kramer. As I exited the chamber, Ms. Kramer made statements that I took as a threat to my life. That nature of those statements caused me to stop, turn around out of concern for my safety. Video footage and eyewitness accounts are consistent with my report. And the matter is currently being under review by law enforcement and the state attorney's office.
Is this germane to our meeting?
Yes, it is, because it goes to the fact of how I was treated just because I had a disagreement with the body as a whole. So let me finish, please. Threats and intimidation or attempts to coerce elected officials have no place in civic life. Disagreements over policy must not devolve into personal menace. I will not be deterred from doing what is right because of fear or intimidation. At the same time, I'm deeply troubled by the message that's being sent to the public as we have a former convicted mayor, Anthony DiFilippo, as this showing up and misleading this city commission when he showed up to city events and being treated as an honored guest. That is unacceptable. I'm going to work on moving something to come before us to make sure that doesn't happen again. Mr. DiFilippo defrauded this city and our community. He remains free to attend as a member of the public or as a right that every citizen, even if they live in the town of Davie, but there should be no special recognition, no ceremonial status. We're not here to rewrite history. The residents of the city of North Miami Beach expect better from their government. They expect leadership that protects its interests, not insiders' ability to profit on their backs. Our centennial year should mark a turning point, not to return to the patterns that damaged the city's credibility in the first place. North Miami Beach deserves that restored trust, not leadership that opens up old wounds. Thank you so very much, Commissioner, for allowing me to read that into the record. Like I said, I've allowed several of you an opportunity to do such when it came to your personal privilege. That being said, I studied it into the record. Commissioner Chernoff, the floor is yours in regards to this particular contract. Thank you. Mr. Chernoff.
I'm very displeased with what happened here this evening so far. All that the other public officials should have come to us when we were interviewing, not now. Now is the time to move forward with the contract before us and hire the new manager. We took a vote as a commission to move forward, and I hope that's what we're going to do. My concern was, obviously, I had the red line copy, so my questions were on the red line, which you cleared up a lot of it in the other contract. So the two issues are the car allowance and the salary. I personally believe that when Mr. Williams first put the application in, like when Marlene or anybody else put it in, Rasha, I think the salary was $250. When we went out second time, it became $300. So somewhere in between $300 and $250 is $275. That's where I think we should go. And as far as the car allowance, I think $1,000, that includes everything except for the gas that you get from the city, is fine with me. Thank you.
Commissioner Sue? I'm recognizing you, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. So I have a couple of items that I would like to bring in front of my colleagues. I know you all here have negotiated several contracts, and I trust that I would like to put in something to see what you think about them. So apart from the minor, typographical errors, which I trust that the attorney will review and correct them as they are into the correct words and spelling. I agree with Commissioner Chernoff about the 275. I initially, when I spoke to Mr. Williams, I believe that I meant $1,000 was flat. I don't know if we have any other outside city cars that are coming to our gas pump. I kind of want to keep it, like not breaking the mold. If it's all city car, City of North Miami Beach, I think like it's already inclusive of that. There was several things I wanted to add, but I'm going to go through all the benefits first. So the severance package, 15 and 20, I agree with. I believe that I do like that caveat that Mr. Powell, Attorney Powell, put in about the 45 days and a supermajority vote. I think that is stagnant, but if he is really something we don't want, I believe that 5 voting him out is possible. Car allowance done. City phone, no city phone, no phone allowance of $150. The language tuition, I spoke with Mr. Williams. He agreed on a 2-year cap. We're not paying this every year. $2,500 per year, 2 years. He asked for the second year to freshen up his Spanish. And I believe that our big Hispanic population would really appreciate that our city manager does speak Spanish. And him wanting to learn Creole is also a wonderful outreach. So I agree to that, but I would like to cap that at 2 years. The PTOs and sick leaves are aligned with the ICMA surveys that have been done according to all the city managers in our state and in our county. I believe that the retirement match 18, I have no change on that. Should he come under the CRA? This one, I think he mentioned that, it's up to our discretion at the time. But I believe that if it's good to set a clear expectation, whether we're going to do it or not, whether we change our mind in the future, I think we can, probably discuss that. But I was thinking of like any project manager for any normal construction. The project manager usually takes 15% of the project that they're managing. So if we hire Mr. Old or somebody else or whoever it is, whatever their project is for the year, he would get 15% of that and not his salary. Health insurance is for him alone, no dependents. And within 10 days of the contract, I would love that our commission get together, workshop with the manager about how we are going to give his merit raise. That means we can set together, we set benchmarks, set a direction. The commission gets to talk about the direction that we want to see our city move in. We would discuss them together and then come out with a set of benchmarks that he must meet, and it would be broken down quarterly. So that's one of my input there about how we can give the merit raise. Now, going back to the raise, Mr. Powell stated that he thinks that, we could follow the CPU of the federal. The federal is always higher than Florida. I would like to use the CPI for Florida. And I don't know how the non-unions negotiate that. Is it federal, Mr. Attorney, or HR? You don't know? Mr. Newman? Do we normally use the CPI for US or federal? Or the manager?
You have the answer? No.
No as in you don't know, or no as in we don't use? I'm not clear.
We don't use it? Okay.
Yes, sir? Can you repeat?
He said we currently don't use that CPI from the.
For COLA?
Correct.
I thought do we normally have a COLA increase for non-union employees?
Whatever the union is getting, it's based on whatever the agreement was from their contract,
That's
whatever
the
that
union.
agreement
I'm
is.
saying non-union employees, because I think in the contract that Mr. Powell and Mr. Geller.
So traditionally, it's a Me Too. So whatever the union COLA is getting, then the non-bargaining are receiving as well.
I see. And is that?
It's not, to my knowledge, I couldn't answer the question you first asked me, which is, do we use federal or state or something? But to my knowledge, it's not required in any document. It's just a number that when the manager and staff compile the budget, they include some percentage cost of living increase for those people not covered by a union contract. I think there are some, frankly, pretty underpaid city employees that get the, that they're just not members of a union. They get a cost of living. And then we have a group of what you might call executives that includes people like department heads and other executive level employees. And my understanding is there's just an agreement as to what cost of living will be given for the year, not mandated by following a particular index. And what I did in redrafting for simplicity, among other things, was just to say that whatever that percentage is, the manager would get the same percentage that all the other non-union employees get, and that would be cost of living. And it does provide that the commission could, in the case of the manager, raise or lower that cost of living if it felt it necessary, but the rule was what everybody gets, the manager gets too, and that eliminated about 2 pages of contract.
But he couldn't lower it less than 1%.
No, that's not in my draft, but again, that's only the cost of living. There is a provision that says, is a very typical provision, that says that you can never decrease the manager's compensation other than by agreement. You can't reduce their salary because that's basically a tantamount to a forced resignation or constructive termination, which are fairly equivalent terms. However, you can decrease the amount of the increase for cost of living. That's not decreasing the manager's compensation, that's decreasing the increase.
Where was that, what did no less than 1% apply to in the contract?
It's not in my draft. It was that minimum cost of living increase per year. I took it out and just said we give employees that are not union employees, there is a number that the city applies for all of the non-union employees as to what their cost of living would be. And I just said, manager gets that too. You don't have to do a separate calculation and involve indexes. Whatever you're giving the others, you give the manager, but you do have the right to say that COLA, that cost of living adjustment, you could raise it or lower it just for the manager if you decided to. Why you would, I can't begin to think, but you can decrease it because it's an increase. You can't decrease base compensation because that's constructive termination.
Okay. Commissioner Smith, are you okay? Are you clear? No, I want to continue, so is that okay?
I was addressing your question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so now I actually was going to put in a cap of the COLA, but I was also going to put in a minimum. That means that if there were a 1% minimum increase, I would also put in a cap because in 2 years out of the past 10 years, the COLA actually went up to 8%. And I believe an 8% increase would be a pretty fierce increase, although it may not happen. It could happen again. I wanted to see if there's a cap on that one. And also, I want to explain some more about the raise. So I have proposed to Mr. Williams that I would like to ask my colleagues for their opinion if we do apart from the COLA, we do a 3% raise every year, depending on the matrix of the workshop that we're going to create together. I'm not sure if there's any questions about that, because I really would like your opinion on that. If we can discuss together the direction of the city, we have benchmarks to mark off for the manager so that he could actually have a guided direction on what he is going to execute during his tenure. I'll leave that. Should I ask you now, or should anybody? Yeah, okay, got it. Okay, and I would like to ask the chair if it's okay for me to go into the verbiage of the law, the clauses with the attorneys.
It's your time, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Go on.
All right, so in Section 1, I see that given Florida public records and sunshine laws, I want clarity that the employment communication to this agreement itself are subject to disclosure. An amendment that I'm proposing is to say employee acknowledges that this agreement and employment-related communications may be subject to Florida's public records and sunshine laws, and that nothing herein shall be interpreted to limit the city's legal disclosure obligations. Mr. Attorney, you heard, what do you think?
The sunshine law is in our Constitution.
Yes.
It applies to almost everything. The legislature in the last few years has been carving out more and more exceptions. Frankly, as a free speech advocate and a supporter of the First Amendment Foundation, I was known in my time there for opposing most of those exemptions, but by and large, they passed. First Amendment Foundation
Yes, thank you.
notwithstanding.
Can I ask
That's-
Mr. Powell's opinion as well?
Sorry, ma'am, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, I concur. I mean, the Sunshine Law applies to everything, all the communications.
So there's no need to add it?
No, there's none.
Okay. Anyway, I stated it for the record. The second thing that I wanted to add was in section 2. Nothing in this agreement shall be construed to limit the authority of future commission to govern, reorganize, or set policy in accordance with law.
This is an agreement for the manager. The manager has areas of responsibility under our charter, but so does the commission. Nothing here is intended, there is nothing about an employment agreement with the manager that changes the basic manager-commission form of government that's set forth in our charter. So again, I don't see the need for that. There's nothing in here that takes the power of the commission and gives it to the city manager.
So in section 2 is the term of the agreement, right? And then what I'm seeing is that there is a protection for Mr. Williams, and I just wanted to put in a clause to protect the city. I'm just standing up for what I think, like, if it's good for Mr. Williams, we could also add something for us and protect the city. That's what I'm going to
Commissioner,
do.
it says in the second line of 2.1, Williams acknowledges that employment with the city is on an at-will basis and that Williams serves at the pleasure of the city commission. Nothing in this agreement shall prevent, limit, or otherwise interfere with the right of the city commission to terminate Williams with or without cause or notice, subject only to the provisions in section 4, which are severance, and in accordance with the city charter. And I think that's a sufficient protection of the rights of the city and the rights of the city commission. That's why it's there.
Okay. And now, so we go on to section 4.2. Constructive termination. So this part is where I think that we don't know what the direction of the city is going to be like, if we're going to, in the future, maybe lose our property taxes or whatever it is, our budget adjustments and trying to cure our deficit. I'd like to make sure that constructive termination shall not include lawful policy decisions, organization restructuring. Wait, hold on. I'm reading the right section. I want to make sure that the decreasing of the salary of the city manager is not strictly just as a decrease, because it will be seen as a constructive termination. I want to make sure that we leave some space for us to reduce his salary should it be needed when the budget is not met at the point that we need to do what we need to do. I think this one is also protecting the public funds and the resources that we have. I want to give us that space. So, so the purpose of the agreement clause shall include, is that the one? Sorry. I have this written all over the place, so I apologize. I can give you what I summarize and then share with you both.
Yeah,
It is a typical agreement provision. It's not universal. It's not in everyone, but I've seen it most often. If you decrease the salary of the manager, that's typically an attempt to force a resignation. You can decide not to grant any increase. You even have the right, the way I wrote it, to say the manager alone won't get a cost of living, much less a merit adjustment. You have that right. But decreasing the amount you pay, look, there's nothing, if they eliminate property taxes completely and leave the city in a position where, I mean, everybody, I hope, is writing their legislators and telling them, don't do that. But if that were to happen, and you can barely figure out how to police the streets or pick up the garbage, there's nothing that says that the city manager, if he's here and is seeing eye to eye and working hard and feels that there is a need for him to take the hit along with everyone else, certainly he can agree with the commission that on a 1 year, on a 2 year basis, that perhaps there will be some kind of a reduction, although, like most of us, people are not, they typically don't get their salaries cut. People make kitchen table decisions based on the income they have, maybe not the income they foresee. People take obligations based on that, and salary reductions, sometimes people get laid off, but salary reductions are very unusual. If the city manager, out of dedication to the city, said, I'll take this $20,000 a year pulled from the air pay cut for a year or 2 years, if the city returns to fiscal health, I hope perhaps that can be restored to me. But you cannot and should not compel someone to honor a contract that they are losing what they've agreed to and going down. If you do that, I mean, they don't have a right to demand that you keep paying them, but you have to recognize that breaching the basis of this contract is the same as terminating someone, and they should have the rights. All they get is a little bit of severance. It's not that much money that the severance comes to. It's exactly what's prescribed by state law. But to say you can reduce the salary without their consent, I mean, they can agree to anything.
No, that's what I'm not exactly saying that.
Well,
I'm saying that
sorry,
if
ma'am, but
there's a
that's the
decrease,
language you're proposing.
I'm trying to find where I wrote that down, but I'm trying to say that there are certain circumstances that will allow the commission or the city to reduce the pay to the city manager.
Unilaterally.
Not unilaterally. It will be agreed on that it will be.
Anything that's agreed on, you can do. It's called innovation. There is a provision for an amendment to the contract, and anything that's done by agreement is covered in section 19.9.
Right.
Okay.
And Commissioner Sue, the exact conversation you just had with the city attorney, Mr. Geller and I had this afternoon, and it was the same answer. That to the extent that and I use the same example, what happens with property taxes, and the city needs to address budget cutting. And the short answer is, if the manager decides through agreement with the commission to take less of a salary, there'd be a novation to the agreement, an amendment to it.
Got it. Thank you.
Add something. We had this when I was a commissioner. Darcy Siegel was the first one to say, let me give up something. And she gave, because the city was in real deficit. They even stopped feeding us. There was no money. I was here. So I would think the manager who is in charge of the budget and watching what's going on would be the first one to maybe say across the board 5% or whatever needs to be done. The manager should be the first one to see it, that we have a real financial problem. It so happens the experience has already been in North Miami Beach.
And
Thank you,
as long as
Commissioner
it's
Smith.
mutual, Commissioner Smith, it's fine. The only thing here is you can say to somebody no raises, or you can terminate them. But if you start reducing the salary not
wasn't
by
even-
agreement, it's the
You
idea.
and I are talking about two different things. It wasn't even mutual. It was a volunteer from the staff first. Wasn't an ask. It wasn't.
And that's fine. Anything that's done that the employee agrees to, there's not an issue. The idea is that it can be done by the commission unilaterally.
That's why I brought it up.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we understand
And I'm trying to agree with you. I'm sorry if I'm doing it.
You're not disagreeing, but that's
I'm
why I
trying badly, but I'm trying to agree with your point.
I mean, the closing comment is, unfortunately, if the city is in that position, you wouldn't be alone. There'd be a bunch of cities throughout the entire state of Florida facing the same issue, and a bunch of city managers and staff looking at presumably the same scenario, looking at how to make ends meet if the property taxes are taken away.
Thank you. So I just want to make sure that I am communicating to you and to Mr. Geller and to my colleagues that I want to be fair with Mr. Williams. At the same time, I also want to protect the public trust. I also want to protect our city resources, and I want to make sure that it's transparent and minimize any legal or financial exposure to the city. Well, that's all for me for now. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Jean.
Thank you so much. I wanted to start off by asking Mr. Williams to kind of speak to some of the comments that were made. I think one of the important parts about this process is that we start on a clean slate, but also that, past practice, those things are important for us to hear, because we want to make sure that we made the right choice. So if you would, if the chair would allow a few minutes for Mr. Williams to speak to some of the comments that were made earlier.
Absolutely, Commissioner. Please let me know what your concerns are, and I shall address them. I've gone through this process with those of you that I've met with, and to intentionally not malign the names of anyone, especially to promote myself. It is not my goal to malign anyone now. As you can imagine, there are several sides to a story. I'll speak to the ones that I find most egregious, and that is that I stole $10 million or any $1 million or $1 million. Obviously, I would not be here if that were the case. This city of Opa-locka is under state financial oversight with the governor's office, and has been for some time. Before I started in the city of Opa-locka, the city was required, and the commission was required, to have weekly meetings with the governor's office. And the governor's office came down to the city of Opa-locka on a quarterly basis. Myself and that administration ran those finances so well that the governor ceased those meetings only on a discretionary basis. They were no longer required. That's a fact. So the notion that I stole any money, that I misappropriated any money, that I mishandled any funds is patently false. I'd also like to speak to this 17 accounts and speak to that directly. The city of Opa-locka put out a banking services RFP, and we received no responses. So my administration went out into the marketplace to seek vendors that would be willing to submit RFPs for the city of Opa-locka. One vendor said, we only give submit RFPs for cities that are our clients. So I said to the director of finance, find out what he needs in order for us to get a submission for this RFP for banking services. They required for us to be their clients to open up accounts. I said, and I asked the finance director, does that mean transferring any monies? She said no. I called the president of the bank. Does this mean that we have to transfer any money to those accounts? No. It will submit to our policies and procedures. If the accounts are open, we would consider you a client, even if you have no money. So we opened up the accounts. The bank submitted their RFP and won our RFP. When the RFP was to be approved by the commission, it was taken off the agenda by the city attorney. And before I left, those services were never closed. At the time that I separated from the city of Opa-locka, there were 3 attempts to terminate me. Each time, as some of the people that came forward here and a host of residents came to say, why are you terminating Mr. Williams? Happened the first time, the agenda item was removed. Second time, again, it was duly noticed. Residents came out, business owners came out. Why are you looking to terminate Mr. Williams? The person that sponsored the item refused to remove it from the agenda. However, the item failed. The third time, it was noticed on a Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. for a special commission meeting at Wednesday on a 5:30 p.m. And though some people came, not the large number of people that come when it's a commission meeting, for this special commission meeting. And again, the question was asked, why are you terminating Mr. Williams? And it was said to the residents, we will share with you at a later date why we are terminating Mr. Williams. And the commission was escorted by police out of the building. It wasn't until after I had departed the city of Opa-locka, it was then determined that Mr. Williams opened up bank accounts which were known to staff and commission for the purposes of this RFP. And as you heard, Mr. Dennis tried to say, well, he had a surplus of $17 million. It was 17 accounts. He says, he was going to put $1 million in each account. So let's think about that. The accounts were still the city of Opa-locka, not Darvin Williams. These were not Darvin Williams accounts. These were city accounts that were under the purview of the finance director and subject to oversight by the governor's office. They have never made a statement that any of those accounts ever had a single penny in them. And they could not until the City of Opa-locka Commission approved the RFP, and that bank became the official bank for the City of Opa-locka. I will say this. I'm glad that I have not sought to disparage any of my former bosses or any of my former employees. Because the truth is, I care deeply about them, and I still care about them. A few of them said, we had a great relationship with Mr. Williams, and that was true. So it was not easy, and it was not at my direction. I was presented with information from the HR director, supported by then Assistant City Manager. This is going on. What is your intention to do? We have documentation that this person has been getting paid without clocking in. And
if you can stop there, because I don't want to get into any employment, issues. But the main reason why I wanted you to speak to it is because what we're here to do is to protect the city of North Miami Beach. This has to be about us as a collective, yourself, us as a commission. And I really wanted to highlight that because we're here tonight, obviously, to talk through a contract, but this has to be about moving our city forward and understanding that whatever baggage, whatever extra things are going on, because we've all gotten phone calls. And like I've said to you before, let's make this about the city of North Miami Beach. It's employees who are committed to moving the city forward and not about any individual, be it the mayor, any commissioner that's up here, yourself. It has to be about the city. And that's what we're here, to protect the city, but also to move it forward. So thank you for your comments. Mr. Mayor, just had 1 minute. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
So the 3 or 4 things that I wanted to highlight from the contract, I don't know if Mr. Attorney, if who's taking notes for us to Yes.
Commissioner, I just had one question for Mr. Williams, just because it was to your thought. But before you open up those 17 accounts, did you get approval from the commission?
Our policies and procedures only require approval from the commission to move monies. Now,
So,
that-
you didn't. So to clarify,
It was not required in no.
So you didn't get permission.
It was not required in no.
But you didn't get permission to open.
It was not required in no.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so the first thing is with the contribution for retirement. What's the typical contribution usually for employees?
I've seen 18 for executive level employees before. I have not done the survey myself. There is a survey. So when you say typical, I've seen that number. That was a request. I didn't object to it. I've seen the number, so I went along with it, but it's subject to your discretion upon review. I think that survey has been submitted to you. So I wasn't alarmed by the number.
Oh, okay.
But I hesitate to use words like typical when I'm not sure.
Understood. And I know Commissioner Sue mentioned this for the $1,000 car. Is there, since gas, I would say, can that include gas? Because coming to the city with your personal vehicle, I think it's a stretch. I'm not sure what the typical protocol is usually, but I would suggest that the $1,000 includes gas as well. As it relates to the educational, the educational credit, I want to learn Spanish. So I'll definitely want to take that out if possible. You have your salary that you can, work through your own professional development if the city doesn't have a line item for their executive to do so. And also the performative measures, there can be some sort of benchmarking or performative measure that the commission is able to establish that we can also hold him accountable to. So those would be the things for me that I can get clarity on.
Commissioner, talking about those last couple, for instance, the professional development, also talking about the gas and the performance measures. As I said, I've given you a contract, I've negotiated, made some changes. These are suggestions. The format, if you're going to approve this tonight, which is what's on your agenda, the way, if you raise an issue where I have some legal objection why I think it should not be done, as was the case with one or two of the points Commissioner Sue made, that I did not think as a matter of law that it was necessary. But if you want to, I'll talk to one of Commissioner Sue's, a 2-year cap on the professional development. I have no opinion as to the law.
My suggestion,
please let me finish.
Before you continue, my suggestion is who's taking notes on what we're assuming so that we
trying
can.
to answer that.
Right.
There are no notes.
Okay.
It's not a matter of, this is not something that, as staff, that we decide. This is a suggested contract. If there's a matter that you say you want to change and I have a legal issue,
okay,
I'll bring it up. But all the others, this is how, what you said, you want to take out the professional development, not cap, you want to take it out. Or you want to insert performance measures.
So who's making the edit?
The way to do that is one issue at a time.
Okay.
You would make, when everybody has been heard from, you would make a motion to amend paragraph so-and-so and delete, add, or change. If I can help you with the language to clarify it, I'll do that. But the things you amend, if you vote to make an amendment, I will note that at the appropriate paragraph, and in the final contract, I'll change it. But if it's only as to the item, you do one at a time, move to amend paragraph so-and-so, and whatever your determination, anything you adopt, This is just suggestions from us. It's your decision.
Commissioner Smucker?
Vice Mayor.
Vice Mayor Smucker, apologies. Thanks, sorry.
Well, first I want to start by saying that Commissioner Chernoff, you were right about no one calling us. The people that spoke here today, the former commissioners and the commissioners, and in fact, the employees, I'm easily accessible. They can call our city line. They could send emails. Nobody has called us before. In fact, I have access to a lot of the commissioners, right? I see them. I see so many commissioners from so many cities in all the events I go to, and anybody can get my phone number if they really wanted to. And honestly, no one has actually called me saying anything negative about Mr. Williams at all. I've had people calling me in support of Mr. Williams, and I'm talking about other elected officials. And to the point that the mayor said about the fingerprinting, that it was the last, well, somebody had to be last, right? Someone, I like, when the buffet line opens, I always say somebody has to be first, and I go and get the food first. So Mr. Williams was last, and so what if he was last? It was done, right? Was the fingerprinting done? Right? Was there anything missing because he was last? Okay, so it doesn't matter who was first or who was last. And I just want to say to the employees that I am so sorry that someone has put someone, I'm sorry that you had to listen to this. I don't want you to believe any of this. I want you to believe in your future manager, and I want you to feel comfortable, and I want you to feel safe, and I don't want you to be worried that he's going to fire any of you. If Mr. Williams fired someone, I'm sure that it was because they deserved it. Otherwise, I think that they would have been able to go to the union or to whatever system Opelika had and have gotten their jobs back. I know of an employee in Miami Beach that was fired, and he got his job back because different position, but he was able to keep his employment with the city there because of the union. So again, if they really wanted their job back, if they really deserved their job back, then they would have gotten it back. And I'm not gonna, I already discussed my points of view with the incoming manager about the contract a while ago. And Commissioner Sue, next time you have verbiage questions, please do it like, oh, okay. All right, I'll let it slide this one time, but okay, okay. And I don't know, I think we need to be careful, right? Because, you know, a lot of people like to throw stones at glass houses, but don't realize that they don't, they're not Mr. or Mrs., I'm not gonna say Mr. or Mrs., but they are not the perfect person themselves. So be careful what you wish for. That's all I'm going to say.
Commissioner Flourmont?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, so we're here to discuss this contract, so I'm going to stick to that. As it relates to the comments that I've heard earlier from Commissioner Chernoff and Commissioner Sue, she talked about basically merit increases and COLAs and things of that sort, and then talked about perhaps if the economy or we had budgetary constraints that we would then look at, you know, reducing the salary. I think the way we address all of that is by starting at a particular point that makes more sense than 280, right? Mr. Williams, when he applied initially for the position, it was advertised at 250, correct? So he applied knowing that that was the salary at that point. Now that it's advertised afterwards at up to 300,000, he's still part of that conversation, right? But requests 280, I think that there should be some conversation as to perhaps we can go above the 250 that we initially talked about with the initial search, but 275 to me is still, you said 275? Yeah, that's still to me a little high. And so I'm proposing 260. And then those increases, merit increases or bonuses, we can look at a structure perhaps to address that, but my proposal is 260. In addition to that, in section 19.9, it talks about executive director type of work for any foundation that we would have as part of the city. I believe we voted on something not long ago, if some of our staff can remind us, as it relates to city employees, does that require a foundation or a nonprofit to be formed? Because we voted on that prior to this agreement, and if that can be grandfathered, that would be something as well that I would like to suggest. Are you guys familiar with what I'm referencing? I believe Ms. Modesty might be.
Good afternoon. You all did approve the Employee Assistance Trust Fund. We were sort of just waiting for direction with the new manager to come in before we established that.
But the trust fund itself, would that require, that's a nonprofit, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if Mr. Williams.
Not what's contemplated, Commissioner.
Okay, I
apologize for
provide some
interrupting.
clarity.
There are cities that have established nonprofit charitable foundations to receive tax-deductible gifts from people who want to assist. Employee Assistance Trust Fund may be a nonprofit, but it's a very narrow scope of activity. But some cities, and
So just to be clear, Mr. City Attorney, are you saying, and I'm assuming that if Mr. Powell, Attorney Powell can on the record agree that the Employee Assistance Trust Fund does not qualify as a charitable charitable organization that is referenced in this contract?
that is my opinion.
And is that his as well? Is
Right.
that
We would, I think Mr. Geller was alluding to what some cities have, like City of Miramar. There's a cultural arts center that has its own separate board and foundation. And obviously it has activities for fundraising and running a whole different set of activities that are not necessarily core managerial responsibility.
Got it. Okay.
That's what we're looking at.
Okay.
For the record again, the Employee Assistance Trust Fund may be a nonprofit, but it is a very narrow focused, single purpose, just to provide some assistance. It is not what is contemplated in 19.9
Okay.
as written, and I think the language of it is clear enough to that is, the duties and responsibilities are not so divorced from the things that a city manager normally does. Helping the employees is something that a city manager typically does. So not just for the record, although there is a record, but also in my opinion.
Got it.
That is excluded.
Okay, thank you so much. So aside from that, I agree with the car allowance that it should remain for everything associated and with his transportation or vehicle. So as far as city fuel, that should not be something that is included.
If I can just, I'm sorry that I'm interrupting you, but if I may just for a moment ask a question about that. I don't know the correct legal term, but is there some type of, I don't know, maybe like a hold harmless or something, so that if in his, like in his, as he's using the vehicle for city business, if there is an accident that we can't be.
I had that as one of my comments, that he would have to require, that the insurance would make sure if he was in an accident.
Commissioner Smith is completely accurate there.
Okay, so when we get,
line is that
can we answer that when we get to her? Because she's going to bring that up.
Yeah,
well,
that was under my questions.
She's going to bring it up.
He's not done.
No, I'm not. All right. So yeah. So aside from that, the vehicle allowance is what it is without the fuel. 260 to me is a great starting point for a conversation. 275 is too high. 280 definitely And that was it. Thank you so much.
Ms. Smith?
Well, I'll start with that I was understanding that the $1,000 was complete, including he buys his own gas, because if he's going to have his car, he'll drive here and back and around the city, but he'll also, who knows? And that way it'll be very clear, $1,000, that's what it covers. But I also wanted to require there be insurance that does, just going to the grocery store that protects us because we pay him an allotment. I don't know if there's any such thing or what we should add to the contract.
The answer, as best I can answer it, Commissioner, is when, as part of having a car allowance, it's intended to cover everything, we should certainly at least attempt to find out if in his insurance, as is sometimes the case, the city can be named as an additional insured, but I'm not sure that that kind of coverage would be available for a private individual having private insurance. They may be unwilling to extend that. As a former personal injury lawyer, as your neighbor could tell you, if you have a sufficiently large accident, you sue everyone. We get sued all the time on things where our actual liability is very small. Having the vehicle not be in the city's name, having the vehicle be a private vehicle certainly goes a long way towards protecting us. It does not mean we can't or won't be sued, but, if the testimony shows that the manager was on city duty, doing city business, involved driving in the city for city purposes, someone could attempt to they could name us. It's kind of an uphill struggle for them. I think we could resist it, and we get sued on non-meritorious claims all the time. We will ask to see if there's a coverage that could name us as an additional insured, but even if we don't get that, an individual driving their own car, to say that the city, we have no control over them, it's not our vehicle, which is the theory of these, the dangerous instrumentality. If you own it, yes, or you're responsible. We'll ask it. We may not be able to get it. I think it's a relatively weak claim. I can't tell you it could never succeed, but we would certainly defend vigorously when we're not an owner, lessee, or otherwise in control of the vehicle, and we don't direct that employee or any employee, if they're using their personal vehicle, we don't direct them to use their personal vehicle. We don't say, you can't take an Uber to go wherever you're going. So I would defend it vigorously if the suit is brought, but I can't tell you there's a guarantee. We will ask if it's possible to be named as an additional insured.
Okay, thank you. A couple more questions I had.
One you raised before the...
Yes, well, the one I raised before you, and that was the credit card or being reimbursed for receipts that had to be business purchases that he had to do or any manager had to do. Unfortunately, the past does come into play here in my thinking, that who's going to check when he hands in that receipt? Who's going to check when he hands in the credit card that was city business?
There is an answer to that.
Well, and what I thought, rethinking my question, was finance department's the one that checks that, which is what you explained to me privately.
Since that prior issue, the city has adopted a very detailed and thorough, I think they call them P cards, policy in writing, which was an issue that had been raised in a state audit. And that policy applies to any use of a city credit card and any reimbursement. It does not exempt the manager from following the policy. It's frankly a reason why I don't have one of those cards, because I don't want to have to go through that red tape. If I have a city expense, which is very unusual, but if I did, I would use my own funds and seek reimbursement through the P-card policy, but I don't want to have a city card. The manager must have that, but under the policy, all uses, and certainly our very excellent retiring undefeated interim manager could tell you more about it, but we have a very detailed P-card policy that we've adopted that requires receipts and reimbursement and everything must be submitted before anyone receives any reimbursement or approval for use of a city credit card. It can be denied if you don't provide all of the appropriate paperwork, and the finance department goes through those things.
Yes, that was one of my questions. I wanted to see how tight we could make that, but I recognize also whoever's checking it works for the manager, so, you know, it's a yin and a yang. It's a yin and a yang, and I want to discuss the 8-week severance if you're fired with cause.
The reason for that,
Well, before you give me an explanation, and you were very attorney-like, when you explained to me how much we get sued, everybody that's going to be fired with cause, their reputation, their future business, their future employment, so they're going to sue, which makes sense because we've had a year and a half of attorneys and we had a settlement. But I said, what if somebody murders somebody, and you said they're innocent until proven guilty? So is there no way, I mean, it just seems to me a little bizarre that if the camera was on the gun and the guy was holding it that was the manager, we still pay him the 8 weeks. I just want you to address that because it all adds up and it makes sense, and there was conversation, it would be 4 weeks, and there was conversation 6 weeks, and it's 8 weeks. I think that becomes a very moot point as much as it is to make sure the city's protected. That's what we're here to do, make sure the city is protected.
yes, ma'am, and
So
the
I'd
theory
like you-
is this. The closer the amount for termination without cause is to the amount for termination with cause, the goal by shrinking that gap is less to protect the employee, frankly, although severance is what protects them. That's why I don't think we want to have a situation where a majority of the commission wants to do something and is told you can't set the direction of the city, whether it's 45 days or 90 days or 60 days, that would interfere with your power and authority. The protection, the trade-off, as Mr. Powell and I talked about, is you protect the employee by giving them severance. During the first year, it's only 15 weeks. It rises to what's permitted under state law only after successful completion of that first year when you go to 20 weeks. I eliminated this ridiculous, they had an 18 weeks in between, like that's going to make a difference, like 2 weeks is what we're talking about. The goal is less to see someone receive the pay for termination with cause. The goal, the policy goal, is to have terminations be without cause, without rancor, without accusations, without ugliness. Even if someone is accused of a terrible crime, I've seen ones where they say conviction of a crime involving moral turpitude, which is a very questionable term that evolves over time anyway. Conviction takes a year. Having that provision, which I've seen in contracts, does no protection for the city. On the other hand, the laundry list that comes down to, you know, almost if you look at somebody cross-eyed, If you're attacked and defend yourself, is that insubordination? If you simply defend yourself? If you have 100 things on the list of what you're supposed to do, and you do 100 things, and you do them all right, but you don't get to number 101, is that nonfeasance, malfeasance, misfeasance, and nonfeasance? Can you say you didn't follow a direction when it was number 101, and you worked maybe day and night to get the first 100? Those are excuses, and they lead to the misstep of saying we're going to save some money if we just do it with cause instead of without. We'll save a little bit of money. I won't say 100%, 99.5%. If you terminate someone with cause, you're going to get sued.
I think the answer here is very specific. It's to protect the public,
Yes, ma'am.
and that's what we're here to do.
100%.
I also want to talk about 19.9. You know, it's too vague. It's too vague. I don't like the clause at all that we could pay extra money if they do something extra. If we do something extra, let's vote on it at the time. It's too vague. It's too, but that's extra, but that's extra. It can lead to interpretation that in whose eyes is it extra? You know, we had a commissioner wanted to put in, we had a manager want to put in his contract that if he goes to the Snow Fest, he wants to be paid extra. Well, then don't come. I mean, if you're the manager and you don't want to see how the money is spent and you don't want to see how many people attend for the money and how well the staff put it together, because it's not just to criticize them, it's to come and praise what an amazing job they do. So I just feel, yes, if we had a manager that was CRA many years while I was a commissioner, they did not get paid extra, but it wasn't a good idea anyway. So I don't know that's going to happen. But that 19.9, I tell you, I don't like it at all. I don't like the openness of it. I don't like the interpretation of it. Let me just say that.
Commissioner, if I might. That was a late addition.
I just don't like
it. It was intended for things that were not core manager duties. It was not my original draft. With your permission, because it was the result of a conversation, it does say that whatever would be done would be by mutual agreement. It cannot be, no amount or anything is compelled. But with your permission, may I ask Mr. Powell to speak to that issue? It was a request, and I'm trying to come up with something that is of mutual agreement. May I defer, with the chair's permission, to Mr. Powell to speak to that issue?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Through the chair, Mr. Mayor Joseph. I'm trying to appreciate your concern and the vagueness. The language can be, I guess, tightened up by simply stating that the intent of this provision is to compensate the manager for anything outside the normal core responsibilities of a city manager. Now, as Mr. Geller pointed out, there may be instances where you all decide to go in a direction that is outside of that core responsibilities. So at that time, you all have the complete discretion as to determine whether or not you want to compensate the manager. So I'm trying to articulate here what would make it more specific for you. Maybe you can help me. What would make you feel more comfortable in this paragraph?
I think the most comfortable thing for me is 19.9 has to be removed. I understand.
In addition to 19.9, the first two sentences were the original.
Okay, right. I didn't.
Okay. Anything has to be an amendment in writing.
Yes, thank you.
So
I understand, I might be wrong, that Mr., I mean, I don't know if Mr. Williams built a building. There are people that come up and said he was in the middle of construction of a building. But let's say he goes out because we're doing a huge project and he starts to oversee it like a general contractor would, only because they needed that extra. Somebody didn't show up. It comes to interpretation. Does he get paid extra for that? Because for the last 2 weeks, he's been on site every, I mean, I know a little bit about construction, so I'm using that as an example. It might be a poor example. But I just think we've never had it. It's no need for it. If there's something extra where he feels that he shouldn't be doing it, he can always say that, how does that come under my umbrella? But for us to think extra compensation, how much, is there anything politically involved in it with the commission at the time to vote yes or no? I just think it doesn't belong in an employment agreement. He's here to be the manager, and that's what his duty will be. I can't see any way, unless you spell out every single thing he would get paid for and how much. I mean, it doesn't add up for me. I appreciate you, though. I appreciate you.
No, I'm struggling to meet you in the middle, because I hear what you're saying, and I think your concern is valid as a commissioner. What I'm trying to articulate here is that if the commission decides to engage in an area that it's normally not.
But what? Why would we? If that comes to be, then we would have to vote on it. We'd have to vote. Does it get compensation?
And that's what this says. And that's what this is stating.
But I just don't see it. I don't see why it should be in there as a possibility that extra compensation can come to him. You know what happens, Mr. Powell? And it happened here. You took it out. Thank you very much. But it did happen. When the manager stood in front of us and said, a month, I said, no family insurance. We give you insurance like all of our charter officers, and you pay for your family like all of the employees. Stood in front of us, it was a deal killer. So the family insurance was part of the contract. And you know what? It was a part of this contract too, because people take the contract and they copy the contract.
Right.
And then Mr. Williams and I spoke. I know his family's grown. He has 2 wonderful children he's proud of, I'm sure. But it was removed. I just don't like things that are ambiguous in a contract that will be used in the next contract. And we're paying a salary, which I'm going to get to for in a second, and I don't want to take a lot of time with this, but that's in my opinion. My opinion is this is very slippery slope. To have a manager that has a possibility, I know we have to vote on it, but extra compensation for a duty that might be under his purview, but he doesn't see it that way, and it becomes controversial. Why even start a contract that could lead into controversy?
So may I ask a question about that?
I was going to say, if I may, Commissioner, so if I'm understanding you correctly, wild case scenario, the city decides to use the example before, set up a cultural arts foundation, right? Let's say, just for argument's sake. And there's a discussion amongst the commission to do that, and there's going to be a passage of that resolution. At that time, if your then city manager, who's subject to this contract, says, well, commissioners, you do realize that that foundation is going to require me to do additional work and services outside what was contemplated by the city manager's contract, would you have an issue at that time discussing additional compensation for that work? Would you think that that would make sense?
I don't think that then he should be the one to do it. He gets a salary, he's the manager. I think, like everything else, we hire consultants, we hire outside people for help. I mean,
I understand what you're saying. Now it's good. So what you're saying is that if the city decides to do something outside the scope of this management contract, you don't think that that's an area that you should expect your city manager to be working on?
If there's such a thing, I want it specifically in the contract what it would be. I don't want an unknown that's going to come down and all of a sudden we have we need to pay $10,000 more or $20,000 more, and for how long, and it's extended. It was supposed to only be for 6 weeks, and now it's 10 weeks. It's too ambiguous. It just,
So if I'm, just to put a bow on it, to understand your comment, if the city decides to do something like that, it would be your vote or your opinion that that's not something you'd be wanting your manager to do anyway.
you're telling me I have a vote, and I get how it works.
Right.
I understand how
Right,
it
so
works,
you would-
Mr.
you
Powell.
wouldn't- you would
But
see that.
the truth of the matter is, why even start, and what can happen politically? I've seen it too many times. He's going to be a manager, and as the manager, manage the city.
Right.
Do we need to put more under his umbrella? We need a good, strong manager, which brings me to my point. So let my other commissioners discuss it, what they think. That's how I feel.
I agree with you, because it's like they're saying when you get a job interview, a job listing, and it says task to be determined, right?
Right.
And it's kind of the reverse of that. You know. So I agree with Commissioner Smith. That's not something that I'm comfortable it being in there.
Can I ask a question, please?
Right.
So let's just say we took that part off, and we have a CRA director right now, so that's actually a non-issue. But in the event that we were not to have a CRA director, and if we chose to have the manager oversee it, at that point, we could decide if we wanted to give him additional money.
Right, I think that's what I'm understanding.
Right.
That's what.
Okay.
That's
so,
what he's saying. You could. We could take it out and we could vote on individual things as they come up. I'm also saying when the CRA director makes how much Jay would probably know. How much does he make now? I don't know. But let's say it's $200,000 a year. Whatever he makes, we had the CRA director was the manager. There was no extra compensation. But if he becomes that, we're going to give them another $120,000. No, we're going to hire a separate CRA director. I just think it's too ambiguous. I think we would do it on a case-to-case basis. And I don't think that should be we didn't get a chance to discuss it because that just came to me. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance. And it just came a few hours ago.
and I think, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think that our former manager, Sori or Jadel, I think either one or both of them were actually getting additional money.
I wasn't here then.
Yeah.
I was here, a former that didn't. The last thing that I
Just before you go on, I just spoke to Mr. Dove. We don't have any issues striking that provision.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
So
thank you very much.
That kind of like takes,
On that matter.
yeah.
Based on Mr. Powell's comment there.
Yeah, we'll just
We
strike it.
will revert to the prior draft of the agreement. So far, there have been no amendments.
So you don't want an amendment from us? You're going to take care of it?
Mr. Powell.
Yeah, it'll be stricken. It'll read just the
We'll
way.
just revert to the prior draft on 19.9, just the first two sentences.
Right. So it'll-
All the other things you're bringing up, if anybody wants to make amendments, we'll do those. But by agreement, since the issue is not really a today issue,
Right.
it's a prospective, possibly
Right.
down the road and may not occur
Right.
based on, Mayor, just for your.
But I promise.
They just agreed to delete the addition to 19.9, and if the situation ever arises, you can deal with it as the commission seems right, and I thank you.
Thank you
Mr.
both.
Williams, and I thank you, Mr. Powell.
But I do guarantee you would have been in the next contract. So I thank you both. I'm taking.
By the way, Commissioner Smith, I took out a lot of stuff that was in that old contract that didn't make sense to me and I didn't like, not just, health insurance for the whole family, but, retention bonuses if you survive, whether it was annual or whether it was a one-time. You don't see that in this. There's other things I could show you in there. I don't just take it. We looked at it, we read it, and if we didn't need it, it's out.
That's why you're the attorney. Thank you. So let me just address the language issue. $2,500 a year for 2 years. It just always fascinated me. When you get a salary, whatever it is, if you want to do extra, which is what Commissioner Jean said, You know, you have a salary to pay for that. Now, we pay, and we rightfully should, for management to travel to national management conventions, state conventions, local conventions, it's in there, and for them to get all the periodicals they need, all the information they need, and we should, because that's to make the better manager. I'm yin and yang on this. I'm not yes and I'm not no, because I think the public will benefit if they have a manager that speaks their language. So it just seems odd to me, that's all, that of your own initiative that you want to do it, I'm thrilled. And the fact that we're doing that, it just, whatever the majority wants. I think the benefit, I don't think I know the benefit for the public, especially the communities where they're communicating on the radio and we have to have somebody interpret to us what are they saying. So I think it's a wonderful thing, and I'm glad you're going to do it. Maybe we could get a group rate and we could all go. I'd like to learn, so we could get a group rate and we could all go. As far as the salary goes, it's interesting. My neighbors have called me. People have called me about the salary. What's the salary? I think right from the beginning, Mr. Williams knew, everybody knew my stand. I like to start it somewhere where we have room in 3 months or 5 months or 6 months to give a nice bonus. Look what he's doing for us. Rather than start it where there's not room to do anything for the year. You have to wait a year to say we appreciate what you're doing. So I don't know the number. I mean, I knew the 290 wasn't what I had in mind, and I knew 285 wasn't what I had in mind. But I mean, I just think that we should reconsider out of the box and show the public that we want to give him a bonus, right? 3 months later, 4 months later, he's already proven why he was hired. You know, again, whatever the commission says, I have to tell you, Mr. Williams, and to the public and to the employees, it's very disappointing. Yes, I agree that everybody should have the right to speak, and we had a lot of people come and speak in your favor. Tonight we had people come to say some things that were negative. But you know what? This commission already voted to hire you. That was the majority vote. And so, and I did not vote that way, but I stand behind it because the same way with the mayor. If you look at every tape, I've been telling people all day long, I give him such respect because you know why? The public voted him to be the mayor. He is our mayor. Well, I can only tell you that I hope once he's sworn in, people will stand and hold that ladder so he can climb up it. Don't come with every criticism. Come with every idea. And let's show this North Miami Beach can be turned around. Can be turned around. A lot depends on whether I run or not, because I want to see a successful city under all of our direction, not a person, not a resident, not under all of our direction. So I wish you the best, and I think we'll have something that'll be acceptable, that you can come in with pride and start to work. And I also, before the night's over, would like to know how we're going to do the contract and the swearing in, because is tomorrow your last day or today? Tomorrow. So tomorrow we have to have...
Commissioner, let me address that first. There's nothing, we typically have some kind of an event when commissioners are sworn in, when new people are sworn in.
No, we could have an event later, a ceremony that is family to come.
The formality of swearing in, I mean, we always do when any employee, there is a final, complete, thorough background check. It's always hiring subject to to that, but that can be initiated, just like taking a bond, you have to get a bond in place, but those things don't prevent someone from commencing on their duties. I mean, if there was a feeling that you needed one more day to get something final together, I'm sure that Mr. Plotkin, as agreeable as he's been, would give you.
I think we've Mr. Plotkin
Put him on the spot.
My point, Commissioner, is just that
I'm not
those
doing that.
formalities, if you approve a contract, the formalities of getting any amendments you make done in writing and getting it signed, those are not what is essential to someone commencing the performance of their duties. You can follow not only with a public event in a week or 10 days or whatever it is, but you can order when the assumption of authority is. You could say noon tomorrow. I mean, whatever you want to do. You have that authority. Formalities of it, raising your right hand and taking the oath in front of the clerk can be public, but does not need to be. There is an oath that needs to be signed, and you raise your hand, but those are not things that need to delay you. I have a very quick comment, unusually, about what you said about raising it. About which?
The word is quick.
Yes, ma'am. You use the word bonus. I took bonus out of here. You have a salary, you pay the individual a salary. You don't have the word bonus. If you wanted to start it lower, but move it up, the suggestion is a typical, quote, probation period is 6 months. Now, there are some things in this contract that only kick in after a year, like it goes from 15 to 20 weeks in severance without cause. But you could pick, there's nothing that would prevent, I don't talk the numbers. The numbers are strictly you.
But
there's
a good idea. That's a good
nothing
idea.
that would prevent you from saying, right now the salary is this. In 6 months, the salary goes to level number 2. And then this provides COLAs begin when our COLAs start the fiscal year. That's not quite a year, but close to it. Your motion, whatever it is, and whatever, could be bifurcated. You could say this number now, and then in 6 months it goes to this number. If the gentleman is not here in 6 months, that's a tragedy for the city, but that's the last thing we need. But, if you want to be sure, you could do this number now, this number in 6 months. COLA kicks in for everybody October 1st. And when you decide that maybe a further raise, you don't have to say now. You could say you'll be considered for a further raise on your anniversary. It doesn't have to be in the contract to do that. And that would, if that's your direction, that's a way to accomplish it.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I think that a good place to start is the salary, right? Because we talked about there were 2 spaces to fill. So can we have that discussion and determine
The other
what
one's
the
much
salaries?
quicker.
Which one is that?
Just saying you'll give a car allowance, you can come back.
Oh,
to
well,
the number.
okay, yeah, I mean, but those are the 2 points, right? So do I have to move for the car allowance and then someone has to second and then?
That's what he's asking.
Right.
Make a motion.
Yeah, he's going
Okay.
to make a motion.
Okay, so I move to have a car allowance versus a vehicle in the contract.
And then include
Are you going to include gas or no?
No, the car allowance is all encompassing.
Okay, so
To allow a car allowance, but strike the provision that said that with a car allowance, he's entitled to fill up with gas at the city gas station.
That's not what we said.
I said no, to strike that.
Oh, okay, okay.
Your motion is to have to elect, yes, car allowance, except to strike the thing that said fill up with gas also at the city. gas
Right,
pump.
so the $1,000 car allowance, so I move,
And you
Second.
want to set the amount as well?
I thought it was
it's
1,000.
1,000.
Well, I mean, that's in the draft, but your motion should be
Yes.
determined.
He said it.
Then the motion, if I can repeat it, Mr. Mayor, is by Commissioner Florimond to elect to give a car allowance instead of use of a city car, to strike the language, which is in the nature of an amendment, but it fits within this motion, to strike the thing that says you can also get gas at the city gas pump, and to fix the amount at $1,000 per month. That's the motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I oppose. Next. Commissioner Florma?
I had proposed 260, so I don't know what the rest of the commission wants to.
Commissioner Furman, I want to second that motion, but I wanted to ask about the probationary period opportunity there.
Say it again.
Would we be able to make a suggestion for a probationary period for potential increase? But what I'm saying is, if we were to put a probationary period, would we have to put in metrics to what would?
No, ma'am, you don't have to. Now, that's a far cry from saying you can't. You have great discretion. But when I mention probationary period, you don't. It is my humble opinion, as my daughter would say, IMHO, that you don't want to undermine the authority of your manager by having him declared to be a probationary manager. You simply have, in terms, that's what I'm saying, is you don't want to use that language. What you can do is simply say, as Commissioner Smith's suggestion, and I tried to say how you do it, you could say an initial salary of this, and at 6 months, a different salary, and thereafter increase it. I mean, you don't even really need to address, you could say on the anniversary, but you don't need to. You have the authority. Any member of this commission can make a motion to increase the salary at any time you think it's justified.
But it
You
could be
don't.
in the contract, just like you're saying.
Well, the first thing can be initial salary of so-and-so, and to your point, and that increases at 6 months. That presumes the person is here in 6 months, and thereafter, at a year, for instance, the severance increases and some other kinds of things. So it would be sufficient in the nature of probationary to say initial salary of X, and at 6 months salary increases automatically to Y, and then you don't need to say anything beyond that. You may, but you don't have to.
When do the non-bargaining employees get their next raise?
Goes into effect for everyone for the new
Fiscal year.
No.
And there would, so I'm saying, an automatic salary increase at 6 months, and then there's a COLA. And, you know, at that point, when you do next year's budget, maybe you want to consider it even though it isn't a year. Maybe you want to wait to the 1 year anniversary. But your discretion is unfettered. Any one of you can make a motion anytime you want to.
Yeah, I only made the motion
If it gets voted up, it's done, and if it's
for the
not,
salary
then
amount.
try another day.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes,
In my talk with Mr. Williams, he enlightened me on the salaries that the cities around us, North Miami, what did they pay? Sunny Isles, what did they pay? Miami Gardens, what did they pay? Aventura, what did they pay their manager? And that's why they proposed a salary. Don't think that the manager came in and thought, I have an opportunity here. No. But the problem is, North Miami is an entitlement city. Aventura has more money than they can print. Sunny Isles has more money than they can print.
Oh, yeah.
Miami Gardens.
I think it's North Miami.
So here we are, we're not a rich city. And that's the difference. So this discussion about where to start and where to go, we want to make sure that the manager's happy and stays, but we also know that we are not the same caliber as those around us. So that's what's leading my conversation, to see what can be maybe, and I think that's a good idea, to have a base salary now and in 6 months to get an automatic increase.
Chernoff?
And I'm going to speak against that because here's the reason why. We're in a very tentative place right now. And in November, we're going to be in a more tentative place because there's going to be elections. So the 4-3 could change, the 5-2 could change, whatever pay the man what you want to pay him and let him do the job. November can come and we won't have them anymore. They could be voted out. It's that simple. So if you make the bonus come in a year from now or somewhere like that, it doesn't happen. But I disagree with it. I think you should pay them what you want to pay.
4 months.
And don't forget, whatever you set up, the next one's going to get more. That's the way the contracts work. The next one's going to get more.
Offered it. We offered 300. Up to 300. We changed our parameters of attracting people by, the mayor's suggestion was to go to 300.
Yep.
Up to 300, right.
I think I prefaced my comment about the salary because Mr. Williams had initially applied when it was at 250. So that's the reason why I prefaced with that statement.
That's okay.
In addition to that, I didn't say 250, I said 260. In addition to that, if we decide that's what we want to have the conversation about, Mr. Williams can say, no, he's not amenable to that, and they can make a counter and we can come to a conclusion. Thank you.
So we're at what, 260?
So there was a motion and there was a second.
So wait, so we're at 260?
We're at 260 for
So
the motion and
before
second to make that offer.
Shouldn't he?
And an increase to 275 in 6 months?
But before we vote on it, let them counter?
I'm just trying to understand, what's the purpose? What would be the purpose of saying now, we're going to set your base salary at 260 or 250, just for argument's sake, and in 6 months, we're just going to raise it to 275. In 6 months, if he's not doing a good job, you're just going to fire him, correct?
I want to answer that too.
No, I'm just trying to figure out what is the.
Is it rhetorical or did you want to respond?
Right, I'm trying to understand what's the thinking in just saying because I've never, to be honest with you, I've never seen this in a manager's contract before. To Mr. Chernoff's point, when you hire a manager, you basically set the base salary on an annual basis. You look at it in terms of performance, and you decide to raise the salary. So,
Mr. Powell, if I may.
Right.
My motion was very clear. It was the salary.
Right.
So that was the motion.
Right.
The motion was seconded.
Right.
So that's all we're discussing. If there's another conversation about 6 months from now or anything like that, wasn't my motion.
Right.
So my motion was specific to the salary. So if there's a counter, we can discuss that.
I understand that, Commissioner Fluon, but part of the discussion leading to the motion was also pollinated with conversations about down the road raising the salary. So I was just trying to get an understanding as to the folks that are saying, okay, let's go ahead and start here, and then 6 months from now, raise the salary. I just didn't understand what was the objective in doing that. What's the purpose?
Could I just, Mr. Mayor, could I just answer that?
Commissioner Smith.
Through the chair. Again, it's based on history. In my case, it's based on history. As you say, the salary is based on performance, but we haven't seen the performance. I'd like a couple months to see the performance because we hired people at big salaries and then the performance didn't match what the city needed. So I'm basing that concept that the attorney brought up. It's a good concept. It'll give us a chance to see performance for a couple months.
So essentially, we're not.
And like you said, if the performance isn't good, he's going to be terminated. If the performance is good, then he's going to have his salary raised.
So if your motion, passes, then this is academic. I understand your comment, Commissioner Flormont. But to the extent that it doesn't, then we're back to the same conversation, and I just don't want to get up and interrupt you all again. To the extent that you all don't want to use the word probationary period, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, you're creating a probationary period by saying that. So, I don't know whether or not that's the orientation you want to have with the new manager going in with staff.
How do we go about it?
Well,
So
I
do
did
we
wanna
have a motion in a second,
I did
right?
also want to say that,
Commissioner-
Mr. Mayor, that there is a total value of the contract as well, right? So the base salary is one, but we're not even adding all of the other provisions that we're also agreeing to tonight. So I think the greater question is not just the base, but also the total value that we're considering here. So I think that's a fair concession that we can all make. Madam Clerk.
Okay.
So we had that motion, but shouldn't they counter it before we vote on it?
Are they not? Are they choosing not to?
It's, Commissioner John, what were you gonna say?
No, what I want to say is it is up to us. And I think that's the fluidity of this moment is that we're able to make, concession where we can.
I appreciate the offer, but we asked in writing for a base salary. And now the commission is having a discussion. One of you all, Commissioner Florimond, has came back with a counter, which is 60, and you all have to vote on that. So, we've made our ask. So if you're saying, well, Commissioner Florimond, would you respectfully amend your motion to 270? I don't suspect you're going to do that, correct?
Well, are you saying that 270 is where you're located? Is that what you're saying?
No, but the Commissioner Jean asked if we had a counter, right?
No, what I'm saying is the value is there. I think Commissioner Florimond mentioned if you have a counter. What I'm saying is that the value of the contract supersedes 260.
Correct.
Right?
So maybe I misunderstood. I thought you were asking, well, now we're at 260. Do you all have a response to the motion for 260? I thought that's what you were asking me.
No.
Okay, so that's good.
I asked that. I asked if you have a counter to the 260.
Right, we believe, and I discussed it briefly with Mr. Williams, that he didn't have a problem with the 270 that was being proposed earlier, discussed earlier by at least two of the commissioners.
May I ask a question, please?
You may, Commissioner.
Thank you. I wanted to ask HR what the total value of the contract would be, if you could kindly add up roughly what we have. Or, Mr. City Manager, would you mind if I ask through the HR?
Also, is the bargaining getting their increase 4-1, the non-bargaining?
So, two questions here. I don't think Jacob was involved in this contract agreement, so he doesn't know anything about it. He'd have to get it, read it to come up with that answer. I don't think that it's I don't believe that's a quick fix to just tabulate. He'd have to read through all the, he wasn't involved.
Right, and also when I'm sorry to interrupt, but when we've hired managers in the past, we've never said you're getting 250 plus. It's 250.
Yeah, done. No, I get it. No, I just wanted to get present to what the actual numbers are.
No, understood. I just wanted to make clear that Jacob was not part of the contract or going back and forth, so he does not. It was copied on it. Doesn't mean he's up to speed on it. This is between you all and the manager. Second part was the non-bargaining merit increases. It's budgeted for amount, but there's no process on how that's going to be done. So we'll be coming back to you on merit increases for non-bargaining. But we did put some money in the budget.
So was that scheduled for this fiscal year, meaning prior to the next, right? So technically, the manager will also be getting another raise based on that date.
It would be right. So merit has nothing to do with what you guys were talking about now. It was just the COLA, which is October 1st.
No, what I'm saying, the non-bargaining is scheduled to get a raise within this fiscal year. Would that include the manager as well? Because I know it's contingent upon our.
No, that's not part of that.
Okay. But I
No,
want to.
separate from all the charter officers.
Got you.
So we have a motion on the table?
Can you repeat the motion, Madam Clerk?
The motion was for a salary of $260,000 for the incoming manager, and seconded by Commissioner John.
So we're not inclusive of any probationary language, right? Just that. Okay.
It was simple, so if,
The truth is, we could give him a raise in 2 months. We can just come to the meeting and give him a raise.
so if,
I'm fine with that.
if you
I
like
mean,
that
I'm fine
number,
with
yes.
your-
If
with
you
your-
don't like the number, no.
I'm good with the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Aye.
Show of hands. Mr. Mayor, can you show of hands? I didn't.
All right, let's do a roll call. Commissioner Chernoff?
No.
Commissioner Sue?
No.
Commissioner Jean?
Yes.
Commissioner Smuggler? Vice Mayor Smuggler, sorry.
No.
Commissioner Flourmont? Yes. Commissioner Smith?
I'm going to follow my residents' ask, and I'm going to say yes.
And I'll say yes. Next item. Next issue.
Move to
It
approve a salary of $275.
Excuse me. It passed at
It
260.
didn't pass.
Commissioner.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, of 260,000. So I have,
No.
should I repeat it? Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Commissioner Chernoff was a no. Commissioner Florimon was a yes. Commissioner Jean is a yes. Commissioner Smith is a yes. Commissioner Sue is a no. Vice Mayor Smuggler is a no. Mayor Michael Joseph is a yes. There are 4 yeses, 3. So it
Commissioner
passes.
Smith, you were a yes on the motion.
I'm doing what my constituents called and told me to do, which they said 250, but I'm bumping it up.
Mayor, you have addressed the 2 outstanding issues. You've
So
set
now-
salary and
Now they need,
addressed the allowance.
so now is there a motion to approve the contract as amended?
Make the motion.
So I have a motion.
Move to
Second.
approve resolution number R 2026-13.
Madam Clerk, do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Florimon.
Yes.
Commissioner Jean.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Sue.
Yes.
That was a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Chernoff.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smuggler.
Yes.
Mayor Michael Joseph.
On the agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion
No,
to?
no, no.
Well, wait,
One
can we
thing.
swear him in?
I'd like to inform my colleagues that one of our board members who was on the code enforcement and the beautification, Fran Ricca, died over the weekend.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Right, and we also
May she rest in
had
peace.
an employee, Lori Helton, passed away. She was a former employee.
I did that at the last commission meeting. This is a.
Oh, okay, sorry.
We adjourn. Let's ask our new city manager if he's accepting that contract.
Well, no, he has to. He's gonna finish up the terms, but that's going to be offered, and it's ceremonial.
I have a question.
For the record, though, it should be accepted. No, that's-
So is it accepted?
Yes, it is, and I believe the resolution permits Mr. Geller to make the changes.
Changes are minimal, actually.
Right.
Yeah, there's 2 terms.
So when is his start date?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, when you fix it, you want to say tomorrow, you want to set a time or a date, or just what do you want to do?
Tomorrow, 9 a.m.
Oh.
Can we fix a contract tonight and have him sign it tonight, right here,
Yeah.
right now?
I just tomorrow. That wouldn't even be proper legal from a standpoint. So, yeah, that would be not.
Can we swear him in tonight?
No.
No,
Without
because-
signing a contract.
No, he didn't sign the contract. That's what I'm
I
saying.
thought you said that it was all.
You have to go through the process, like
Which is the process?
meaning that he has to.
Need to have an oath prepared.
Yes,
We need to have him sign I would suggest that you, for what it's worth, that you say that it takes effect at 9 a.m. with swearing in at noon.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I just want to say thank you, Andy.
I would like to put on the record as the attorney that Mr. Plotkin should deserve a round of applause from everyone for an outstanding job. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Do it when the camera's off. Thank you.
Not the work begins. Don't let me down.